Cold air. A woman lost to time. A crime that would freeze a city in its tracks. In the bustling heart of Bengaluru, Mahalakshmi's life didn't just end, it was dismembered. Hidden in the cold, in the one place meant to preserve life, a refrigerator. How did we get here? What drives someone to such darkness? Tonight, let's piece together the fragments of this haunting tale on Crime Cream. Welcome to Crime Cream, the place where we unravel the darkest mysteries. I'm your host, Momo, and every week we dive into the spine-chilling world of crime, one case at a time. If you are new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click that bell icon so you never miss an episode. And if you're already part of our Crime Cream family, smash that like button and share this mystery with your friends. Now, buckle up. Tonight's story isn't just about any crime. It's a tale that chilled Bengaluru to its core. The story of Mahalakshmi's tragic death is one of love, obsession, and darkness. And by the end, you will be questioning just how well do you really know the people around you. Mahalakshmi's life was like any other. At first glance, an ordinary woman living in Bengaluru with a daughter and a marriage that lasted for 9 years. Before her name became synonymous with the tragedy, Mahalakshmi was a daughter, a wife, and a mother. But behind her cheerful smile, cracks were forming in her marriage. A 29-year-old working at a mall, she had a daughter and was separated from her husband, Hemant Das, for 9 months. Hemant had filed multiple complaints about Mahalakshmi's affair with Ashraf, a barber from Uttarakhand, but their relationship persisted in secret. Her days must have felt like endless repetitions of the same loneliness, but no one knew the storm that was brewing beneath the surface. As she tried to rebuild her life, there was someone lurking at the edges, a man named Ashraf. But Mahalakshmi's downfall wouldn't come from Ashraf's hands, though many thought it did. The real danger lay even closer, within her workplace, in the gaze of a man who saw her as more than just a colleague. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. Ashraf was Mahalakshmi's lover, a barber by profession, and a man who appeared at a perfect moment of her vulnerability. He was not only a romantic escape for her, but a source of controversy. Her estranged husband, Hemant, had complained about their affair, and the police even had them on their radar. But while Ashraf seemed like the perfect suspect when she went missing, there was one problem. He wasn't even in Bengaluru. On the night Mahalakshmi was murdered, Ashraf was in Uttarakhand, far from the crime scene. His alibi was airtight, leaving investigators baffled. With Ashraf cleared, the investigators had no choice but to look elsewhere, and so their gaze shifted back to Mahalakshmi's workplace, to the man who watched her closely from the shadows. What the investigators didn't know then was that this man's obsession had been festering for months, and it was about to explode into something far more horrific than anyone could imagine. Mukti Ranjan Ray, her boss, her manager, and her killer. On the surface, Roy appeared to be a diligent professional, managing Mahalakshmi and others at work. But beneath the surface, he harbored a dark obsession for her. Roy was that man. He couldn't handle the fact that Mahalakshmi didn't see him the way he saw her. To him, she was an object of his desire, someone he could control. It's important to remember that obsession often starts small. Maybe it's just a glance. Maybe it's just a small favor. Roy's obsession grew in silence until it exploded into something uncontrollable. It's a story as old as time. A man in power who thinks he owns the woman he desires. Roy's fixation only grew stronger, and when Mahalakshmi didn't reciprocate his feelings, it turned deadly. On the fateful night, Roy made his move. The details of that evening remain unclear, but what we do know is that it ended with her life being brutally snuffed out. What happened next is the part that will make you question everything you know about humanity. Mahalakshmi's body didn't just disappear, it was hidden. And the place Roy chose to hide her remains is what makes this story so chilling. On September 21st, 2024, the smell was the first thing neighbors noticed. They complained of a foul odor coming from Mahalakshmi's apartment, unaware that what they were smelling was far worse than spoiled food. When they finally broke down the door, they weren't prepared for what they found.
ಅವರು ಈ ತರ ಹೋಗಿಲ್ಲ ಏನೋ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಮಾಡಿಸಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಮಾಡ ಅಮ್ಮ ಯಾಕೆ ಪಂಚಾಯತ್
Inside her fridge were the remains of Mahalakshmi, 59 pieces of her cold, lifeless body stored like forgotten leftovers. Each piece of her body was open, her identity reduced to fragments. Take a moment to imagine this. A woman once full of life reduced to pieces and stored like leftovers. What does that say about Roy? How can someone do this to another human being? This wasn't just a murder. It was an epitome of cruelty. The sight shook the police officers to their core. It wasn't just a murder, it was something more sinister, more calculated. The kind of crime that stays with you long after the case is closed. After the gruesome discovery, Roy didn't stick around. He fled Bengaluru, traveling to Odisha in a desperate attempt to escape justice. But guilt has a way of catching up with you. And for Roy, it wasn't just the police chasing him, it was his own conscience. He couldn't live with what he had done. Weeks after the murder, Roy was found hanging from a tree. His life ended by his own hands. In his side note, he confessed to killing Mahalakshmi in 59 pieces. His words were chilling. Quote, "I loved her, but that night, things went too far." It makes you think, how often do we hear stories like this, where someone claims their crimes are rooted in love? It's a terrifying aspect of human psychology. When obsession crosses into violence, the perpetrator often believes they are justified. But the truth is, love and obsession couldn't be further apart. Roy's death brought closure to the case, but not the families left behind. Mahalakshmi's daughter would grow up without her mother, and the city of Bengaluru will never forget the horror found inside that fridge. Think about Roy. On the surface, he was just a man doing his job, managing Mahalakshmi at work. But underneath that facade, something sinister was festering. His obsession for control, masked by his professional role, spiraled into rage when he couldn't have what he wanted. It's a classic case of unreciprocated love turning dangerous. When desire becomes possessive, it takes on a life of its own. We've all experienced moments when we wanted something so badly, it consumed our thoughts. But what happens when that desire wraps into obsession? That's where the danger lies. It reminds me of stories where people seem normal right up until they weren't. Something snaps and the consequences are irreversible. So, what did we learn today? Mahalakshmi's story isn't just about a gruesome murder. It's about the dangers that lurk beneath the surface of everyday life. We learned that obsession, when left unchecked, can escalate into something unimaginably horrific. In Roy's case, it wasn't sudden. His obsession grew over time, unnoticed until it became deadly. And that's the terrifying part. It could happen to anyone, anywhere, in any city. The warning signs were there, but sometimes they're too subtle for anyone to catch until it's too late. As humans, we tend to think we can understand the people around us. We trust them, we form bonds with them, even open our lives to them. But sometimes, behind a smile or a friendly gesture, there's a darkness we can't see. It's a chilling reminder of how fragile trust can be. Mahalakshmi's story may be over, but the lessons remain. Her death teaches us to be more aware, to listen to our instincts when something doesn't feel right, and to remember that the darkest parts of human nature often hide in plain sight. If this case shows us anything, it's that the line between love and obsession is thinner than we'd like to believe. And once that line's crossed, there's no going back. The line is thin between love and despair. One moment it's laughter, the next it's a nightmare. We walk with strangers, their hearts hidden deep. But some secrets, once uncovered, won't let you sleep. If this story has left you questioning the very nature of trust, then make sure you subscribe to Crime Crane. There's so much darkness in this world that we don't see, but here we reveal it, one story at a time. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss the next chilling tale. Stay safe, stay aware, and as always, trust your instincts. Until next time.